One of those holiday weekends where we tend to celebrate with pyrotechnics is just around the corner, and so it seemed appropriate to introduce you to our new state fire marshal and talk with him about that, among other things. Kevin Seelmeyer joins us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you for your time today.
Hey, you're welcome.
Recently appointed by Governor Snyder to the post of state fire marshal. How did all that come about?
Well, it's kind of building off of a career that started in the Grand Rapids Fire Department. Worked there for about 31 and a half years and retired as the deputy chief. And then the last year I've been moving around the country consulting on teaching firefighters about what we're finding out about the science of firefighting. So a lot of the stuff that we thought was true or wasn't true in sort of a mythbuster fashion, science has come to the fire service, and so we're trying to get that information out to educate firefighters so that we can put the fires out faster and we can save more people.
Wow. That sounds interesting. So as you examine fires and what happens and how they work, what are some of the more impressive things you're learning?
Well, one of the things is that, you have to, with anything, when you look at science, you have to replicate it over and over again to make sure that you're getting the same answers. Right. And that's one of the things that came out of a lot of that, too, was then, okay, well, it was done in test cells. What if we put it actually in buildings? So on Governor's Island in New York City, in Chicago, and a lot of other places, they actually started doing the science of firefighting in actual buildings, and we were able to measure the results and then further educate firefighters on what we learned.
Just today, there's a story in the news about a house fire in Battle Creek. There was a fatal house fire in Detroit yesterday. Are we at all Are we at all getting smarter about how we prepare ourselves for that possibility in our own homes?
I think we need to put forth a little more effort on the education side of it. The fire station's down around the corner, it's in your community. But one of the things that the best thing you can do for your local fire department is have a smoke alarm, have a smoke detector, and you getting out of the house as fast as you can when a fire occurs makes it a whole lot easier for the fire department. And it's also safer for your family. One of the things we're learning through the science stuff is that because the furniture today is made out of a lot of plastics, it burns at a higher temperature and it burns faster. You do not have as long to get out of a building today as you had, let's say, 20 years ago.
Wow. What's the average amount of time we have, just generally?
Well, what we see happening with the furniture that's burning today is that it actually uses up the oxygen within the building, and the fire actually dies down. It's not until an opening is created in the building, whether a window fails because of the heat, or in some cases a neighbor or somebody opens it up, and then the fire will get bigger. So you're looking at probably less than a couple of minutes from the time it really gets going to, and when you start to run out of the oxygen, of course, you're not going to be conscious, and it's hard to get out at that point.
Right. So we're back to the smoke alarm thing. It's important to be alerted as soon as possible.
It is. And then also to have a plan of how you're going to get out and where you're going to go, and of course, calling 911 immediately. The faster the fire department gets the call, of course, the quicker the response is going to be. But also what we're finding with the science side of it, the fire grows very quickly, a lot faster than it used to.
Yeah, have a plan. That's the other thing we've heard a fair amount. If you can imagine being in a panic situation, what very well could be, you're probably not thinking about the plan at that point if you have to come up with it right then.
Right, exactly. And that's part of a national effort to have an exit drill in the home. It's called the EDIS program. That's the acronym for Exit Drill in the Home. And it's taking time with your family to even practice it. And, my kids are getting a little older. They're 15 and 16 now. But when they were younger, we actually, probably once a year we would have a drill, which included even them climbing out the window, which, as you can imagine, they enjoyed. But we did have a plan.
Well, and sometimes climbing out of a window might seem scary, and so practicing it, if you can do it safely, boy, that might be real helpful.
Yep, exactly. And that's one of the things, I talked earlier in the earlier segment about how the modern furnishings are burning differently in fires. The smoke is going to, like I said, cause an oxygen deficient atmosphere quicker. So you don't have a lot of time before you will be unconscious due to the products of the fire.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, when there is a home burning and the oxygen is going away, and you're inside, you got to get out. You got to break a window. You get out of a door somehow. The oxygen's going to come in. So what kind of a challenge does that create for a person's escape?
Well, I'm glad you bring that up. The biggest thing is to close your door. So if you're in a bedroom and you don't think going the other way is the right way to go, is to close your door. I think it's also important that we're trying to change the culture in the United States of getting people to close their doors at night. When you talk about the oxygen going away and then opening a window, you're right. We're adding the oxygen back in. We call that a flow path. By closing the door, you limit the flow path.
I see.
So it's the same theory that we're actually teaching firefighters, and we're gonna be out in the next year in Michigan here, really pushing these programs about the importance of closing doors. And even when you leave your house to, let's say you make it out, to shut the door behind you, it does help.
That's interesting. So, as you say, if you're in a bedroom and you're about to open a window to get out, shutting that bedroom door, if you can do it, then would limit the access of the fire to that oxygen that comes in. That makes sense.
Yeah. It really, if you think about it, when you open the window, it's no different than actually you're creating a chimney, especially if you're sleeping upstairs. So by closing the door, you break the path so the air can't get to the window.
Mm-hmm. What's the role?
Again, back to the science.
Yeah, right.
And, it's really interesting that we're learning a whole lot. This week in Philadelphia, the science side of firefighting is looking at basement fires. So, and we got a lot of basements in Michigan, so that information will be exciting to see when that comes out.
Well, and these days, new homes, of course, and those which have been retrofitted should have an egress window, which is a great exit in that case. But a lot of homes in Michigan don't.
Right, and that's one of the things that we want to make sure that you don't. Sleeping in the basement without egress windows is definitely not a good situation because you are limiting your ways out. Ideally, you'd like to have 2 ways out of every room.
Okay. We're talking with the State Fire Marshal, Kevin Seelmeyer. So we are talking about the holiday weekend coming up, and this must be a time when fire educators and fire professionals just cross their fingers and hope everybody does what they're supposed to do.
It is a time, and we want Michiganders to enjoy the holiday. We want to enjoy their time together with the family, but we also want to make sure they use fireworks safe. And part of the Bureau of Fire Services that I oversee is actually you see these tents that are popping up, and then you also see the stores that are selling fireworks, and that is actually regulated through the Bureau of Fire Services. So that is a responsibility of the folks that work for us to get out and inspect those tents in stores this time of year.
Okay. What are you looking for in there?
Well, one of the things, they have to follow the NFPA standard. They got to have extinguishers. They can only have so many feet of tables in a row before there's a break. And the idea is that if there was a fire to occur in either one of those, is that they're, again, getting out of the building again and limiting the spread of the fire.
All right. And when we're handling these things, boy, you just got to really be careful.
You do, and we need to realize that, we want to include the kids, we want to include the families, but it should be an adult setting off fireworks. In the law here in Michigan that in January 2012, consumer-grade fireworks can be sold. They cannot be sold to minors. So we're also encouraging adults to, keep the kids away from the immediate lighting area and, try to be 25 feet or more away from a building or a structure and have a hose and water available and do it as safely as you can.
All right. And there is, I presume, an instance too where if you're too close to a structure and some pieces of these devices land on a structure, this could be a fire hazard.
It can, and there are fires every year in the United States that are started with fireworks. They're again moving away from the buildings. Also, want to make sure that everybody understands why you can buy fireworks in the state of Michigan. You cannot shoot them off on public property, so schools, churches, parks. They can only be used on private property, and they cannot be done in the road. Okay, so there's a lot of things that you need to take into consideration when you're getting ready to enjoy your holiday.
Boy, that's interesting when you think about a lot of the neighborhoods in Michigan where homes are pretty close together. The road might be the go-to place.
Right. Well, the road, we're working hard to educate that the road is not the go-to place. Number one, the hazard of being out in the road. But you're right, and we need you to think about the same thing with fireworks being set off near trees and stuff. Of course, you can have them deflect and different things. And throughout my career, that's where I've seen some of the fires and different things, from some of that actually stuff hitting something, deflecting, or not getting the good flight that it needs for you to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so remember these things as you're planning your celebrations. What is the role of the fire marshal in the state of Michigan? How do you see that?
Well, the role and it's in the job description is to keep Michiganders safe from fire. So that's our biggest role that we're focusing on. And you're right. We had 3 fatalities in Detroit yesterday. You look at the fire that occurred at Battle Creek. The good news is everybody gets out. That easily could have been a tragedy. Right now, and looking, about 10 weeks into the job, I'm looking at the data for the first part of the year. We're averaging about eight deaths per month, and that's in residential. So there's a focus area. On Friday, I've got a work group getting together, and we're going to sit down and we're going to start looking at how do we reduce this trend in Michigan, these fire deaths.
Is that fairly average when you look at other states?
No, actually, Michigan is out of the 50 states. We're in the top 5 to 10 every year consistently.
Oh my!
We're definitely trying. That is a focus that I do want to go after. Is how do we reduce those numbers? And it's going to take a while. But one of the things, the big program that's being pushed nationally is community risk reduction, and we're going to actually get a program going here in Michigan very shortly.
Okay, and when we've talked on many occasions with Mike McClear at Escape, he talks about how there are free smoke detectors available in many communities, and that in some cases the firefighters will even come and put them in for you if you're not able to do that yourself. This is huge.
It is. It is huge. And, when I talk about, addressing the problem, I do want to share that there are a lot of communities out there. Their fire departments are doing great things. So I want to build off of the great things that are being done around the state, and how do we take it statewide, and how do we have a constant effort statewide? Mm-hmm. So that's really what the focus is. But you're right. There's a lot of good programs out there. It comes down to education and what's the best method, and also just giving somebody a smoke detector. About 50% of those will never get installed. So we know that we need to be out installing them. So we know they're up. We know they're available.
Wow. So they get all the way to the house and then don't get installed. That's incredible.
Yeah, that is incredible. And that's one of the things that a lot of, even a lot of the programs that are funding a lot of these through grants and stuff is, the demand is you have to put it up for them, because simply, I get it. We all get busy and it sits on the counter and in a box. It's not doing its job.
There are nationwide documentaries that have been done. Some of them, all you have to do is get onto Netflix and find them, about Detroit and its fire department and the struggles going on there. Is this part of your focus, too, to try and help them figure out how to maintain their departments in really tight financial times?
It is, and one of the things that I don't know that a lot of people know, but through the fireworks, when you buy fireworks, there's a 6% safety fee that when you buy fireworks. that 6% comes back to the Bureau of Fire Services, and it's actually dedicated for firefighter training. So this year, $2 million is being spent statewide to educate and train firefighters. And we're looking to have the same amount next year. So that is part of my job also, is to make sure the Michigan firefighters are trained.
All right. Well, we look forward to talking about that more in the future, and we'll set aside some time whenever you like. We appreciate the time. State Fire Marshal Kevin Sellmeyer on 95.3 WBCK. Thank you.